Hello everybody and welcome to another video. Today I have a bit of an exciting one for you guys. Today I'm going to be talking about my first impressions on the two new Demon Hunter albums, War and Peace. Now, these only just came out a few hours ago, on Spotify at least, and I also, people who pre-ordered the album got an email with links to download the songs. So I've now listened to both albums. It's currently the day before release. It's Thursday. So hopefully I'll get this up tonight. But I just wanted to kind of give you guys my very first impressions on these albums because I was very excited for them and I would really like to talk to them or talk about them before I actually do an actual review, which I will also be doing once I listen to the albums a little more, just because I don't like doing actual reviews of albums on first listen. I like to listen to them 3 or 4 times before I actually do a review. So I'm not sure if I'm going to make them 2 separate reviews or review them together. I'm thinking I might do separate reviews just because the albums are so different, but I'm not sure about that yet. But anyways, I'm going to be talking about these 2 albums. I'm going to start out with War since it's the album that I heard first. And I really enjoyed both War and Peace. I think they're both really good albums. War, I suppose I'll just kind of go song by song a little bit. I'll talk about songs specifically, I suppose, since I don't really do that much in my reviews. So I feel like the album kind of starts somewhat on a bad note. Cut to Fit is a song that I personally didn't care for too much. I thought it was decent, but when it comes to Demon Hunter album openers and even compared to the rest of the album, I felt like it was kind of weak. Not a terrible song, but I didn't care for it too much. And then of course we got On My Side and Close Enough, which improve upon Cut to Fit. Those are 2 of the best songs on the album in my opinion. I really love both of them, especially On My Side. I didn't care much for Close Enough when it first came out as a single, but I really like it now. And then we have Unbound after that, which is another really good song. I really enjoyed that one. I would probably say it's one of my least favorite songs on the album, but it is still a very good song. And then Gray Matter is probably the closest thing to a ballad on this album, at least from what I can remember. It is a really good song. I did enjoy it quite a lot. And then track 6 is The Negative, which again was a single, really good song. The first 6 songs on this album I think are pretty solid, aside from Cut to Fit, which I think is okay but not great, but everything between On My Side and The Negative is all really solid. Ash is possibly the heaviest song on the album. Very heavy song, although I'm not sure how much I like it. I kind of have mixed feelings on it, I guess. It's an okay song, it's a good song, but I think, especially in comparison to others of Demon Hunter's heaviest songs like The World is a Thorn, Crucifix, Cross to Bear, stuff like that, personally it just doesn't quite hold up to those. Still a good song, but it's not one of my favorites. I would probably say it might actually be one of my least favorites on the album, at least from first listen. And then we have tracks 8 and 9, No Place for You Here and Leave Me Alone. Again, these are both good songs, but I wouldn't say they're anything super spectacular. Pretty much tracks 7, 8, and 9, I think, are kind of where the album dips a little bit in quality. Maybe my opinion on it will change once I listen to the album a few more times. But yeah, personally, I just didn't really care a whole lot for those songs. Again, they're still good. I don't think there's a bad song on either album. It just didn't really work for me quite as much. However, the last song on the album, Lesser Gods, is awesome. It is, without a doubt, for me at least, one of the best songs on the album. Really great opening. I really like how the song opens up. It's just got a really cool sound to it. It's got a really kind of dark opening kind of feeling to it, I think. And even has some organ thrown in there, which appears... I can't remember if it appears anywhere else on this album. It appears on this song and it appears a little bit on Peace. And I think it really fits in and really adds a lot to the feeling of the song. The guitar leads kind of remind me of black metal a little bit, kind of in the same way that they do in the song Someone to Hate from True Defiance. Overall, it's just a really great song, although there are some weird vocal effects in the verses that I don't really care too much for. I think if those were taken out, then this song would be really, really fantastic. But as it is, it's still very good and really, really fantastic. But that just kind of brings it down a little bit, but not too much, because the rest of the song is just really good. So my overall thoughts on War: it's a very good album. It does, again, have a little bit of a dip in quality, in my opinion, towards the end. But the majority of the songs on the album are very, very good. Next, I'm going to talk about Peace, again, kind of going track by track. First, we have More Than Bones, which was a single. Didn't really care for it that much when it first came out, but again, much like Close Enough, it has grown on me. I do really enjoy the song now. Very good song, very kind of upbeat. It's not a super heavy song, but it is still quite upbeat, which I feel like if you've heard More Than Bones and the song Peace, which were both singles, you have a pretty good idea of how a solid amount of this album is. It's kind of not super heavy, but it is kind of upbeat and catchy, which I do kind of like. Track 2 is I Don't Believe You, which I think is pretty strong. Generally, I'm not a huge fan of the chorus. It is kind of minimalistic, and it's hit or miss for me with Demon Hunter. I guess Ryan Clark likes to do those kind of minimalistic choruses, at least with the lyrics, but the song overall is pretty good. Next, track 3 is Loneliness, which is one of the slowest songs on the album, I think. Really good song. It's probably one of my favorites on the album, actually, and I really enjoy it a lot. It almost reminds me a little bit of something like Helpless Hope, which was a bonus track from Extremist, and it kind of reminds me of that a little bit, but maybe not quite as slow and kind of doomy, I guess, because that song kind of reminds me a little bit of doom metal in some ways. So it's not quite to that extreme, but it is the closest thing I can think of. And then we have the title track, Peace, up next, which is also a pretty good song. I would say, compared to the rest of the songs on the album, I would actually say it's one of my least favorites, which is kind of surprising, considering how good the song is, I think. But I think that just really speaks to the quality of the album as a whole, because a lot of the songs on here are very good. Track 5 is When the Devil Come, which I think I said in my singles review that these two albums seem to have one of the most diverse collections of Demon Hunter songs, and that definitely shows, especially in Peace, because When the Devil Come is a really unique sounding song. It almost reminds me of something you might hear in like a Western. It does have some electric guitars and stuff in it, but for the most part it's like acoustic kind of Western sounding stuff. I really, really like it. It's very different, very unique, but it's really good. And then track 6 is Time Only Takes, which, again, a very good song. Pretty kind of groovy song, I guess, if that's the right word to use. I think that kind of describes a few songs on this album, actually, but I really like it. Really good song. Overall, pretty solid. Two Ways is track 7. That is the only song on this album with screaming in it, which I was sort of surprised by, but not quite. I was thinking that this album probably would not have much screaming on it, but I was kind of surprised that this was the only song with screaming on it, and even then it's used very sparingly, but it is used quite effectively. But with this being the only song on the album with screaming in it, it does feel a little bit out of place since it's not present anywhere else in the album. Kind of feels weird. It's a good song in and of itself, but it feels weird being in this album a little bit. Track 8 is Recuse Myself, which was one of my favorite singles. Again, much like When the Devil Come, it's a very unique sounding song. It's really, really good. I really like it a lot. One of my favorites on the album, actually. And yeah, really good song. Track 9 is Bet My Life, which again is a pretty good song. Probably either this or I Don't Believe You is my least favorite on the album, at least first listen. But it is still a good song. I do still enjoy it. But then track 10, Fear Is Not My Guide, much like I said about Lesser Gods from War, this song is really great. And I don't know about you guys, but for a very long time, I have been wanting Demon Hunter to do a piano ballad. I know they've done like the piano version of Carry Me Down, for example, so I don't think they've done anything else, and I've been really wanting them to do it, because the closest it's ever come, aside from that, is the song from the Triptych, which was Tide Began to Rise, and even that wasn't really a piano ballad, so I was really, really happy to see a piano ballad on this album, and since it was a softer album, I was really hoping that we would get one, and we did, and it is a very, very good song. I really enjoy it a lot. definitely a very pleasant surprise. I feel like this album is just full of pleasant surprises. So, definitely a really good song, and I really enjoy it a lot. So overall, my thoughts on Peace, again, very positive. I really enjoy it. I might actually say I prefer it over War, at least right now, but time will tell if that opinion stays, because again, I'll be listening to both of these a few more times. But yeah, overall a really good album, really solid beginning to end. I again would say I prefer it over War, probably mostly because I feel like from beginning to end it's more consistently good. It does have those couple of slight low points, like I said, with I Don't Believe You and Bet My Life, which I don't care as much for. But even those are still pretty good songs, whereas War has 3 songs in a row that I personally just don't care for a whole lot. So I feel like it's a little more consistently good. But both albums are very good. I really enjoy both of them a lot. And they're both solid additions to Demon Hunter's discography. As for whether or not I think they both work as albums by themselves, that's one thing I was a little worried about, because I thought it would be a little weird to have just one album of heavier stuff, one album of less heavy stuff. But I can say with confidence that these are both really solid albums in and of themselves, even though it is a little bit weird to have a Demon Hunter album that is beginning to end generally heavy and beginning to end generally not heavy. It is a little weird at first, but as far as the content of both albums and how enjoyable they are to listen to, they're both very good. So that's pretty much it for this video. Let me know what you guys think of these albums. I will be doing, like I said, a full review of these albums once I listen to them a little bit more. It might end up just being me restating a lot of what I already said. But I would like to go a little bit more in depth with some of the other things, because there were some things I didn't really talk about in this because I was just going song by song. Whereas in my reviews I kind of speak more generally about the whole album. So expect a review sometime within the next few days. I would expect by early next week. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Let me know what you guys think of these albums, and I will see you guys next time.